Lyubomir, this is the Global Digest think tank group. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience that can know you more?
Okay, thank you, John. My name is Lyubomir Mysyev. I am from Ukraine. I am a deputy director of Sociological Group Rating. It's one of the famous Ukrainian research company founded in 2008. We specialized in different kinds of qualitative and quantitative researches in Ukraine. So during the full-scale aggression, we didn't stop our activity and continue it. Founded our own researches, and now we conducted a lot of different surveys for international organizations, for different internal Ukrainian organizations, political, scientific, and etc., etc., etc. Me, I am my field of expertise is now because according to my diploma, I'm teacher of history and I have PhD in public administration. But in this moment, particularly, I am the manager of survey processes. I manage different and I make contacts with different clients in all the world. And also I am managing the surveying process and the analytical process, because before my first job was connected with analytics especially in political sciences, and that's why my part of my field of expertise is a political life in Ukraine. Thank you.
Great, great. So you are in Dublin or you are in Kiev right now?
No, now I'm in Dublin.
You find a lot of survey and a lot of research activity, and mainly in Ukraine. How do you see Ukrainian citizen political view? Uh, they are more liberal democracy leaning, or how their level of democracy knowledge or liberal democracy knowledge in Ukraine.
I would like to answer from my personal point of view.
Sure.
And I faced with several different big shifts in Ukraine, big changes like breakdown of Soviet Union. I was 11 in this time. Then I faced with two revolutions in Ukraine. This was Orange Revolution, then Revolution of Dignity. I faced with the full-scale aggression at every time. The changes in the society were huge changes. Yes. If we're talking about the main moods of Ukrainian society, they are mostly democratic, but maybe as we are post-Soviet country, it is a specific type of democracy in Ukraine, because it's it's something different if we will compare it with the Western countries, because we are a young democracy and we have a lot of problems of post-colonial countries and post-Soviet countries, like non-particular understanding on what is democracy is, because sometimes democracy is not an anarchy, because democracy is a rules, it's a responsibility. That's why it's a big discussion in Ukraine. That's why we have such problems with the corruption or with the nepotism, and that's why it's a problem of a new democratic country when you are just growing, when you should solve all these problems in society, and that's why Ukraine had it's a very specific type of democracy in Ukraine. It's not a autocracy. It's a liberal country, yes, because we have a lot of freedoms in Ukraine. We can speak, I am talking about the times before the full-scale aggression, because war it is a time when you do not have rights. You have a lot of limitations, yes, because it's a war. You have laws. You have to we have some limitations in the press, in publications, in limitation in men have limitation connected with the serving in armies. That's why it's not like a full democracy, but it's war conditions. If we are talking about the full scale times before the full scale aggression, Ukraine was a democratic country. We have freedom in all the areas. moving, having job, no limitations in the press, and a religion, and etc., etc., etc. That's why maybe we were more democratic countries than in Western, but it was not like a democracy. It was a freedom. So you are a free country. You can do anything here, but you should understand that other people they have some red lines that you don't cross them. That's why it was like a transition process in Ukraine to this Western society, and we are where we just make a decision to become a member of European Union. That's why we started different reforms in Ukraine. I in this moment I cannot just say that all of them were successful, but it's a process. So it's a process of transformation of a country. So to take some responsibilities, to make some limitations in a business, in a tax systems, and in economics, and that's why it's a big discussion in Ukraine, because in economy for entrepreneurs we maybe have more freedoms than in European countries, because it's about connected with low taxes. Yes, but if you are talking about the big business, there are a lot of different problems. So it's a transformation process, but it's a democratic way. It's not a way to back.
I see. So also you can say like here are a lot of Ukraine used to be former Soviet country and a lot of communism, you know, political system. Probably older generation, or can you say many of Ukrainians still used to be communism background, or some people are still uh, influenced by communism among Ukraine citizens. How do you see it?
Oh, we have results of surveys about this issue, because it was a very interesting trend in Ukraine during the last 15 years. And if you are talking about it was a question in our surveys, do you have a nostalgia about the Soviet Union times, about the and maybe 5 years, okay, not five, maybe 10 years ago, maybe one third of society, they really regret about the Soviet Union breakdown. But it was older people, mostly lived in eastern and southern part of Ukraine. The reason was that this part of Ukraine, it was an industrial part with big factories, big plants, and that were built in Soviet times. And all these people, they have a job there, but a lot of these big industries, they were closed, and that's why they have this regret about their previous life that was good. Yes, that was because it was a hope. They were working on the big. They have some ideas, and that's why they have a good social. Not good. It's like a. It's not compared with the Western society, but in Soviet times, it was a good social assistant from a state, and that's why it was like those people, they lost their jobs, they have to find their new jobs, they had to transform their life, and that's why they really this morning, they really regret about this breakdown of Soviet Union. But during the after the beginning of war with Russia in 2014, after the Crimea invasion and invasion to eastern part of Ukraine in Donbass, the moods of Ukrainians, they have changed because the propaganda of Russia is connected with the Soviet times, and that's why the mood of Ukrainians started to change. Generally, in all the society, and generally a lot of older people, they do not want, they saw that this is only propaganda, they cannot return to these previous times, and that's why we lost the part of our population, because we lost Crimea, we lost Donbass. It was near 2.5 million people there, especially it was they were very like a post-Soviet people. Yes, they live especially in this mainly in these regions. That's why the society in Ukrainian the it changes, and the moods have started to change. And during the last 10 years, we have the trend that of the decreasing of amount of people that have this Soviet nostalgia. After the full-scale aggression in 2022, it changed like totally. Now, mostly 99% of Ukrainians that are taking part in surveys, they answer that they do not have any nostalgia about the Soviet Union, because it's connected with Russia propaganda. It's not connected because, as for me, as I am historian, according to my diploma, I can say that there were some good things in Soviet Union, like a social assistance, like schools, universities, big factories, industrializations, but it cost uh, millions of lives because of the repression, because of the wars. That's why we should just divide these different types of nostalgia. Because if we are talking about the repression because of the Soviet regime, we couldn't nostalgia about the evil. Yes, but if we are talking about the job, about the social, about the connection with people with different countries, different cultures, it's other part of life in Soviet time. That's why now, as all the Russian propaganda is connected with Soviet time, people are disappointed in this idea, and they do not nostalgia about the Soviet times.
So it means there are some kind of social welfare, social benefit during Soviet Union, Soviet system. But you said millions of people have to die, so it's not worth the death of millions of people with small social welfare, social benefit from Soviet system like that. It's not worthy to get such welfare.
It's a I try to, and as I understand that there were a lot of communist regime in Asia, and you understand what is communist regime in Asia. It was very specific. It was not like in Soviet Union, because with some it was a little different if we are talking about the Soviet Union, but. What is communist welfare? It's average level of everything, but it's poor level. It's not, you cannot just um, achieve a high level of life, because or you should be the part of Communist Party. It's not a fair life. It's that's why it was very specific for mostly most population. It was proclaimed, it was declared that you will get social welfare, but you pay the main cost is your freedom,
Right.
because you should support one party. You shouldn't speak about some problems in country, and that's why it's very specific life. They give you so like a replica of social welfare, because you're staying in the same apartment houses with the same furniture, with the same TV sets, and you have the same in all your life. You cannot get anything more. If you want to get anything more, you should become a part of party, and to make to. But it was really impossible for most of people.
Right. It's not good for innovation and
Yeah.
inventory and different thing and exploring that will be very difficult in socialism, right? So, but in democracy, example, right now, Zelensky his uh, term is already finished, and it should be a new election. But during war, during wartime, it is not possible for election. So he continued as you know, expired elected leader in Ukraine. So how you see it's a Democrat, or how Ukraine citizens feel there is no space at all for election? Probably if there is a will, you might be able to conduct in many part of Ukraine, for election that was not much democratic way. How did you see Zelensky position, his status as expired elected president?
Oh, it's a big issue in Ukraine now because I will say like a sociology, Ukrainians likes elections because we had a lot of elections before, and we like to elect a different parliament, president, because it's caused a discussion inside the country. Sometimes it's really had a good influence on changes in society. Sometimes not, but it's a democratic process. I think that it's a new phenomenon in modern world, when we as countries that part of territory is in full-scale war. It's not a local conflict, it's really a full-scale war because it's not located in only one region. All the country is struck by Russian by rockets, and you do not have any safe locations in Ukraine. Maybe we have one exception in the Transcarpathia region because it's behind the mountains, yes, and it is far away from Russian territory. But all the territory of Ukraine is dangerous. My parents and my native region is western part in Ukraine, and my native town was several times. It is close to the Poland border. It was struck by Russians several times. Yes, and in Kiev we have every day we have the air alarms and connected with the drones attacks. Yes, and that's why it's really dangerous now, and it's very modern war. It's not like a total war. It was like a World War II or the Great War, but it's because it can be to be located if we are talking about the battle about with the armory. It's located in the one territory. But all the territory is now, because of the modern weapons, of the flights, of the drones, of the rockets, it's dangerous too. So it's a big problem of holding the elections inside the country. We have a big discussion because a lot of people support the idea of changing the government, of changing the president, because of a lot of problems connected with corruption. But those people, according to the results of sociological surveys, they are supporting elections. They want to change. They want to say, sorry. What is the statement? Uh, they want to change government, but they do not support election during the war. Mostly, if you are talking them about the majority. So, because majority of people understand that it is very dangerous, and the part of big amount of people, like more than 6 million now, are abroad, and besides 1 million is serving in army, and that's why they will not have a possibility to vote during the elections on elections, and that's why besides we have a conscriptory law. It's a mobilization law in Ukraine. It caused a problem with the men, and that's why it besides we do not have freedom in press. because now if we are talking about the central media, the central media, not about the internet, because internet we have freedom everywhere. We have a lot of different bloggers, different types of news. We can just find a lot of information in internet is not a problem. If you want, you will find the information. But that's why it's technically it's possible, because we can use electronic type of voting. It will be very maybe new for our country, that we can vote by using our, we have an application, a governmental application with all the documents. It's called DIA, and we can vote in this application, and then everybody in all the world that have this application, have the citizenship of Ukraine, can just get their vote on elections. But it is a big discussion about the security of data that will be gathered, and security about the results. Will people just trust this result because a new phenomenon in Ukraine, and that's why it will be the problem for the next president if it is changed. That's why to conduct the elections in a traditional way, using the papers, using the buildings, is really dangerous, because due to the alarms, Russians can stop this election in one moment. They can just attack Ukraine, and this day will be maybe it should continue during the week, or because traditionally it takes only one day. During the 12 hours, all the population were voting near in their locations. Yes, but now it's why it's technically very challenging, and it caused a discussion because of this issue that I described before. A lot of people wanted to change government, but they understand that technically it's very difficult now. And maybe the solution will be fine, but really, as for me, I understand that it can cause a lot of problems if we will conduct the electronic elections, like using the internet technologies. A lot of people will trust in these results. We have some results in our surveys. We saw that this new phenomenon, like elections in smartphone, it people like this idea, but they do not understand how these votes will be calculated, and the result will be fair or not.
I see. So your main argument is it can not conduct election. It was not conducted election because of full-scale war,
Yeah.
and it is not security problem for the voters inside Ukraine. And scientifically, how can you measure it is full-scale war and it is 100% no security for voters as a scientific way? Because we know there are not Russian soldiers present in the western part of Ukraine, even in Kiev, and only in eastern part of Ukraine. Russian army soldiers are able to come there, but many part are not physically Russian army are there. Only scare about rocket and drone and missile that might destroy huge population during voting time. That is hypothesis, potential of danger. But how can you say full-scale scare for danger of security without any physical troop in Western Ukraine?
The situation or security situation in different parts of Ukraine is different, but mm, I'll try to. When we have an air alarms, all the administrative buildings are closed because there were a lot of accident when the ballistic rocket it really it flight 2 minutes to the if it need 4 minutes to fly to the western border from Russian territory, and it's very fast, very dangerous, and it can cause a lot of deaths of people if Russians want to make to cause a fear to stop the elections. They can do in every part of Ukraine. It doesn't matter where you are, in western part of Ukraine or you are in the eastern part of Ukraine where they have Russian troops. So technically, it is that's why of this it's a big problem of it's not only a problem of elections, it's a problem of life because shops are closed, administrative buildings are closed, hospital different not hospitals but medical centers are closed and during the air alarm. Sometimes we during the day we have 4, 5, 7 air alarms that are lasted more than 1 hour. That's why it's really in our job, yes, because we before the full scale aggression we hold a lot of focus group, personal in-person focus groups that when moderator was traveled to location, gather people in one building, they have a conversation, they have a discussion. Now we are just holding only online because it's very dangerous to gather people in one building. You cannot just predict the situation because it cannot be the aim of a missile, but it can be striken by our anti-rocket system, and the part of this rocket will fall down on the building and will kill people. We have a lot of accident connected with this, and every day we lost people of the drone attacks. Russian use 100 drones during one day for their goals, and they really make a big damages of buildings and death of people.
So you said that Ukraine was uh, not able to make election because of full-scale war, and
Yeah.
it was danger because Russia missile and rocket that is affected living human life in Ukraine, not just voting. So it can happen anytime, anywhere in Ukraine. So it is not possible for conduct election in Ukraine that is part of full-scale war. So it's not possible election. That you are uh, you're saying how many international organizations, how many democratic institutions accept that Ukraine cannot do election and not at all possible for.
Really, I don't have answer on this question because I think that Western countries they really just recognize President Zelensky as a head of Ukrainian government because they just hold a different negotiations. They meet with him, and he represents the country on international level. That's why we as they everybody understands this issue because the second reason that elections are not possible, that are not impossible, that are not possible in this moment is immigration because 6 million people are abroad, but they maybe will return to Ukraine after the war. That's why they cannot vote abroad. It's a big problem. Okay, imagine that in Poland there are 1 million Ukrainians. Okay, and between them it's a 60 maybe okay it's a 600,000 adults. It's mostly women. So they are concentrated in big cities like Warsaw, like Krakow, like Wrocław or Lublin. It is it it's a population of small European country. And to organize the elections, traditional elections, when they are voting by bulletins, paper, yes. So it should be buildings, commissions, and a lot of people will be engaged in this process. Traditionally, all the elections were held in embassies or in the part of the embassies that were situated in the main cities or abroad. Now, Ukraine, and not only Ukraine and other countries, they do not have a possibility to recruit a lot of people for elections inside one country. In Germany, there are the same population of Ukraine. It's close to 1 million. In Czech Republic, Ukrainians are maybe the 4 or 5% of population. In Ireland, Ukrainians are 2% of the whole population in Ireland. So it's a really big problem because 6 million people will be excluded from elections. It's about the Western countries. 2 million people are now they are abroad in Russia and other countries. That's why it's the next problem. And 1 million people are soldiers on the front line. They will not have any possibility to vote, and we will exclude this part of population from the elections. It's not a democratic way.
I see.
So these big problems, they cause the big discussion inside Ukraine, and everybody understands that okay, we can go using way of electronic voting. It can just solve the problem because you can say at home you can just push a button and make a choice. Okay, but how to secure these results? It's in modern world because it can be just hacked or changed, or we need to change laws and to change a lot of in our country for such electronic voting.
I see.
The second problem is how to hold pre-election companies because now the media are centralized. We do not have such a before the full segregation that we had discussion on television, on radio, in the media. So now it's very difficult because if the political discussion in Ukraine will start it, so it can cause a lot of internal problems during the full-scale war. It can cause the internal war.
Right.
So I really as a researcher, or I understand what is the problem we can face during the elections, during the process of preparing elections. It's not about the moment of election.
Right. So as you said, Zelensky is recognized by many countries, many Western democratic countries, that is considered not conducting election is accepted by many Western countries. We de facto consider because it's security reason and other many reasons, as you explained. So election was not able to conduct in Ukraine during the Ukraine-Russian war. And, the other option probably maybe, overseas voting, as many countries are doing. American also doing overseas voting, and electronic voting, but you are aware it can be a lot of a problem and risky data collection, and it can easily manipulate the data in Ukraine. It's still new things in Ukraine, electronic vote, So that's also another thing. And the competing election party who are competing party might increase violence and internal division in Ukraine. You scare about electronic voting system, which Ukraine has never experienced, probably. and it is risky data mistake or misconduction or miscalculation related to electronic voting. So how how what you want to say more about that?
I cannot add anything about this because I describe all the issues that are connected with this idea of holding electronic elections. Yes, it caused problem in Ukraine because a lot of political discussion about the future elections, about the possibility of this future election, about the importance of these elections. It caused internal problems. That's why I think that it's now. But mostly people are really now worried not only about elections, they are worried about their lives, about their financial situation, about the job, about the future. And that's why it's elections. It's not a big problem in Ukraine, because during the full-scale aggression, you have a lot of things that you have to sort out, and not only connected with the political life, it's connected with your own life, how to stay alive, how to say how to your family have to stay alive, and they have to find this safe. And that's why it's caused a lot of other problems. But Ukrainians believe in victory. 90%, more than 90% believe in the victory. The Ukraine will win this war. All they understand the realistic that we face with a huge country, a nuclear country, and it can take more time than we expected before on the very beginning. Ukraine stay resilient in this war. They stay strong. I understand that we are tired of these circumstances that we faced with all these conditions of war, and we lost every time. We lost people, we lost our relatives in this war. A lot of people built their houses, their job, and their previous life. But this hope for victory, for that we will just save our country, and in the future, and then with the assistance of other countries, like mostly from West, and then we will return to our not return to our previous life, because it never will be the previous. It will be new life in Ukraine, but I think that we will get a peace, and then we'll develop our countries to this country that we want.
Right. So you mentioned not having election is not that much problem.
Yeah.
But having election may cause more problem. There are more things important in Ukraine than election, right? So you already mentioned many things. It can be more problem when election is conducting in Ukraine. So it is better not having election. Is better for Ukrainian people, as you point out. But Ukraine also has historically, the population, the citizen has some kind of or kind of confusing or violencing or some kind of election by own coup. That was, legitimate elected government, why the citizen and population made a kind of elected government. They oppose and overcrowded protests and violence and coup, they said. How can you say about Maidan coup?
Okay, we have two Maidans in Ukraine. The first was connected with, it was a protest against the manipulation during the elections of the candidate. It was Viktor Yanukovych. He was a candidate, a president candidate, and the team manipulated with the results, and it caused a big protest in Ukraine. We because of this manipulating, and it caused the elections in Ukraine, where the new president Viktor Yushchenko was elected. Yes. That's why it was the reason of the Orange Revolution, and after the Revolution of Dignity, it was the main problem, and the people they protested against the corruption. They protested about the changing of the Ukrainian. How it will be international vector, international direction of moving, because the government of President Yanukovych, they declared the signing of European Association and the way to Europe. And then in one moment, he changed his opinion because of the influence of Russian President Putin. And then it caused a big protest because the level of support of European of the European membership of Ukraine was more than 60%. That's why it caused protests inside the country, and it caused the revolution dignity, caused the changes of government. And Russia used the situation, and in this moment when the internal situation was very critical in Ukraine, they used the situation and they invade in Crimea and into Donbas territories. Yes, and that's why it caused for Ukraine and Russian war, because some of the internal politicians in Ukraine, where they were just funded by Russia, and they just caused this a lot of they were pro-Russians because they get funds from Russia and they
You
support
mean
Russian
this
ideas.
is the first coup?
I'm just talking about the Maidan Revolution of Dignity in 2014.
Who is president of Ukraine at the time?
It was Yanukovych as president, and he was changed on elections, but because he left country, and then the several months it was like deputy president during the February and May, and then in May 2014 the elections were held, and Poroshenko was elected as a president and was recognized by all the world. He was a president during the 2014 to 2019.
Right. You know, why not Ukrainian protester? They wait until his term is finished. But you said he ran away from the country because he ran away because of the protester violence, and he afraid it is danger of his life. Probably he ran away. So until his term is finished, why not the protester wait for the democratically,
Because it very big discussion, and because during the Maidan in February 2014, government used special services and they killed people on Maidan in Kiev during this protest, and it caused more than 40 deaths in Kiev, and they were killed by special service by the policia. And that's why it was a reason that these protests do not stop, because it was during all the Maidan there were a negotiation between the sides, and one of the solution was to holding the election in the end of the 2014, no, not 2000, in December. But this killings of people, it caused a critical level of protests, and it caused fights on the streets. And during these fights on the street, President Yanukovych, he left the country because he thinks that because it was his decision to, and somebody gives the order to the special services and to the troops to kill people, and that's why he is considered to be guilty to giving the orders to kill people in Kiev. That's why he left country, and it caused a new elections.
I see. Probably he's still in Russia, right?
Yes, he is still in Russia, and the government of Yanukovych, a lot of persons are in Russia now.
But anyway,
They are under sanctions of the Western world, and they are in Ukrainians. They considered to be guilty, and they considered to get to go to prison for their crimes. They are considered to be criminals.
uh, whoever guilty, it should be punished. But according to Democrats, for strong democratic institution, the people protester, they should wait until the end of his term, After then, a new elected government, they will make their own decision, a new government
But
decision.
sorry, John. According to democratic laws, government shouldn't kill people, shouldn't kill protesters because these protests they were peaceful. They do not use army. They do not use weapons against the police, and that's why these killings of people on Maidan Square, on Maidan of Independence, in Kiev, it caused the such a high level of Mm,
Guilty.
yes, yes. That's why it's a discussion what was his democracy here, because Yanukovych wasn't democratic president. He was, or he just built a autocracy in Ukraine, and his clan, mostly from his relatives, they were very corrupted people. They stole a lot of money. They stole a lot of from a budget. They just stole a lot of business in Ukraine. They want to become new oligarchs, and that's why it caused protests. Not only it really it's not democratic way. That's why it's the more than half majority of people do not support Yanukovych, and that's why it causes problems in internal problems that causes protests. It
Okay.
was one of the reasons of the starting of process because of the changing his decision about the European Union, but mostly people were protested not only about the democratic about the European way, they were protested about the manipulation, about the corruption, against the corruption, manipulation, about the autocracy and anti-democratic way of development of country.
Said, uh, first thing is why the Ukrainian elected him, him. That's the thing. But you said the protesters are without any gun. They peacefully protest, but the security force shoot him because of the COVID order. He is made responsible. So anyway, if he did, there is law and regulation and the judicial system, the court judges, they will decide that he's guilty. But it is overrunning by the protester or violence, or overcrowding, uh, overthrowing will be it's really not good. It's not good to see the democratic society. So until his term and a new government can decide whatever they want in, because Russian always refer why Ukraine they invaded is they did not follow democratic system. The violence of protester may collapse the government.
But
Russia
sorry,
Russia
please answer
said,
the question. Why Russia was invaded to the other country, because it's our internal problem to resolve the democratic issues and the issues of why Russia should invade to other country to help to solve our internal problem. It's invasion, it's war. So Russia is not democratic country, and they cannot just build democracy inside their country. They are autocracy, and they wanted to help us to make democratic elections. It's really it's a it's a very
I
strange
agree
thing.
that I accept that what you said, but I'm not saying Russia is right or they are true, but they referring this point as well. They always refer because Maidan
They can
coup.
refer to anything, but please make your country democratic and then show us example how to do it. Not invite to other countries, yes. And sorry, it's not it's not true. It's unfair politics, and it's a lie.
Right.
It's a war in a global level. So Russian they use propaganda, and we can speak about this for hours. I can explain you all the issues during all the 30 years of independence and this inside histories that were connected with Russia.
I understand. I mean, Ukrainian cannot do election. Many democratic institution, democratic country understand and they accept Zelensky as Ukrainian leader. They could not conduct election in Ukraine. Other Myanmar military government, even they are shooting airstrike and artillery shooting, they also want to do election in the middle of war, you know. So these are paradox. It's dirty politics or dirty election. Thank you very much, Limbomu.
Thank you very much, John.